psychologist or being referred to a psychiatrist, what do we say? Because sometimes it's just about, even if I were to seek help, I wouldn't know what to say. I wouldn't know how to say it without getting to a point where you feel like you're not expressing yourself in the right way, because that's also a huge thing when it comes to expressing how you feel. I mean, I'm one person that struggles to express how I feel because I feel like I don't have the right words, or I don't know how to articulate myself well. So how do we ask for help, and what do we ask for?
So there is no right and wrong there. There is, I think it's so important to be, truthful, be authentic, and be able to share. And I think when a person does phone into the helpline and they're speaking to the counselor, and I've been saying this, I think for the most part, is that even if you're feeling just overwhelmed, even if you're feeling just stressed, even if you have this assignment that's due tomorrow and you haven't managed to get a hold of it, or you haven't understood it, and you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out. Because that moment when you're stressed and you're not managing is when you need that support the most. Because something someone else says, whether it be a counselor, whether it be a friend, whether it be a family member, actually will be like, okay, let's put this into perspective. Sometimes we all feel overwhelmed. Sometimes when I feel a little bit overwhelmed, what I do is I take a moment. I do a mindful moment. I literally take 3 minutes, check out, listen to a song, or take a walk outside for 3 minutes and just get into that better space. You can do breathing techniques. You can do any one of these things and just refocus and come back. And it's so important when you're phoning in and you're speaking to a counselor to just tell them, I am feeling stressed. I am feeling overwhelmed. You might not have slept for a few days. It's so important to note your sleeping and your eating habits. You might have said, okay, yesterday I didn't sleep well, the day before I didn't sleep well, but note that. Make sure that you have a journal, make notes. I haven't slept for 5 days in a row. Reach out, speak to people.
I think exactly what Vanisha just said, like speaking to people. From my personal experience, I feel that communication is key when it comes to mental health issues. And even if you spoke to a friend, so what I've seen is people tell a friend that they're going through this and this and this, and what happens is I get notified because I'm part of the peer support group, and then if it's something beyond me, then I send the person to Vanisha or anyone from SADC who would assist. And I feel that approaching, the numbers are there. SADC has this 24-hour hotline that's available, and a lot of us use it. And then I think because of people not knowing who to call, they don't know about this, so they don't know that that hotline is available to call 24/7. And the people in SADC are always willing to assist, to help, to refer you if needs be. But they can talk to you. And I think no matter what you're going through, even if you just go and say, listen, I'm not coping. And then we can find out, okay, why are you not coping? Then we can sift it out. I think it all boils down to compartmentalizing. And because people find it difficult to do that, they end up feeling overwhelmed with all of their problems. And because of this, people tend to get so overwhelmed that they even get blindsided by the fact that there is help, but then they forget that they can actually seek it. And then they fail to realize there's a hotline because of all of this going on.
And what have you noticed, especially being part of the peer support group, what have you noticed are some of the struggles that students have in terms of their mental health?
So in terms of their struggles, I feel that mental health in relation to their academic performance, the academic stress plays a huge role in their mental health as a student specifically, because we as students, whether we came out of high school or whether we went back into university, that academic stress is just the main stress in university, and we set goals for ourselves at the beginning of our degrees, and we fail to realize that there are so many obstacles in our path to get to that end point, to that degree, that we fail to to take into consideration these things, and then we get overwhelmed when these things actually hit us in between. And these things are the financial stress, the family stress, the relationship stress, the stress about what society is going to think about me, their relationship with their society, the relationship with their residents, their peers. And with all of this taken into consideration, it plays a huge role on our academics, because we see other people achieving things and then we like question ourselves, but why aren't we doing that? We don't realize that we are all different, and it's different from high school, where you have to get a certain grade in order to get into university. There's a lot of students that forget that we are in university now. It's not a race, it's just a matter of getting there, and we can take our time and whatever. It's not about what the next person is doing. It's about you, solely you. And I think people fail to take that into consideration, and then they feel overwhelmed because they're worried about their bursaries, they're worried about NSFAS and stuff, and these are all valid things to be worried about. However, they tend to realize that with this and the other stress, and then academics is what people tend to fall on, and they get too dependent on it because they think, okay, everything else in my life is going bad, let me just focus on one thing. And then when one thing goes bad, what are you left with? Because then you get more anxiety, and then you feel overwhelmed because that one thing that you depended on is not there anymore. It's not doing the things that it's supposed to do. And I think that overwhelming emotion and stress contributes so much to our mental health. And yeah, that's basically what I feel. And also, like with family life, the expectations of the expectations that our family put forth for us to do good. I mean, when you're coming out of matric as well, you expected to perform as good as you performed in matric. However, every single year in university is like matric all over again. The pressure is so deep every single year. It's clashing with assignments, tests, exams, and everything, including your clinical OSCEs. And people feel so overwhelmed with all of this as students. And then we don't put things into compartments. Instead, we want to try and conquer the world and try and put everything together into one box and sift through and say, okay, if I can solve something, I'll solve it. If I can't, let me put it back in the box and leave it there. And you don't want to put things aside. Instead, you want to try and put everything together and fix it. And then you feel overwhelmed as a student.
And how has the peer support group helped students during these difficult times with everything that you're mentioning now?
So I started the peer support group last year at the beginning of, just as COVID happened. That's when I started it, because I attended a peer support group training with SADC a few months prior. And what I've noticed was that a lot of students had coping difficulties and a lot going on and trying to get through things. So when I attended the facilitated training, I wanted to see what it was about, because UP was promoting SADC. So then I realized that a peer support group is for students, by students, and with students alone. It's not run by people that are experts. It's students that attended the facilitated training by experts who taught us how to run a support group. The support group can be as little as 2 people in a group, and that's still a huge achievement. It helps students in terms of coping mechanisms and expressing themselves. And also, another important thing is, when we are in a support group, it's not something for people that are having mental health issues. Okay, fine, there will be people that would join there, but we'd refer them accordingly. But it's for students that are coping and students that are struggling to cope. Students that are coping can benefit by joining a support group, because it can make them understand what others are going through, as well as sharing their tips with other students that actually need it before they get overwhelmed with their studies. And students that are having difficulties coping and stuff, they learn from their peers about how to support one another, in terms of, if I'm having a problem with academics and I'm solving the problem in a certain way, and that person is not having a problem with academics, but they're having family problems, we can help each other in that way. And I feel that it's so important for us to help each other as students, because we tend to stand in a point when it comes to mental health where we feel so self-isolated. We feel isolated in terms of all of our problems. Like, we bottle it up and we say, oh, I'm the only one in the world that's having this problem. And we fail to realize that another person could be having a similar problem. And even speaking about it once to another person, you get that relief, that sense of relief by just letting it go, just speaking about it. And with the peer support group, the benefit of it is it's in a safe space, and we create rules at the beginning of every peer support group session whereby you have to maintain privacy, confidentiality. There's no judgment in that circle. You cannot take any story out of if anyone shares a personal matter, you're not allowed to take it out of the group. It's a safe space, basically. And it's at this point where people get to express themselves, show what they're feeling, and they can even vent if they wish to, but it really, really helps. And we have it once a month. So that 1 month interval, a lot can be done for an individual who has been bottling up emotions for 6 months to a year. That 1 month of venting, it really, really helps.